Hey everyone, this video is about the distributive property and combining like terms. Okay, so like terms. First of all, terms are something like 3x or 4x. They're combinations of numbers and variables with multiplication or division. 3x plus 4x is not a term because this plus is splitting this term from this term. Okay, so this is an expression. It's the sum of two terms. Now, when we talk about like terms, all we're really focusing on are the variables. Are they the same, and do they have the same exponents? In this case, 3x and 4x are like terms because they both have an x, and the x is being raised to the first power. Remember, if it doesn't show you the power, it's 1. So to combine these like terms, it's really simple. All you do is you focus on the numbers in front, what we call the coefficients, and you combine those. In this case, we have 3 plus 4. 3 plus 4 gives us 7, so 3x plus 4x gives us 7x. Notice we don't change the variable. Same idea down here, 5x, 2x, minus 6x, they're all like terms. So what we're going to do is we're going to add the 5 plus 2 and then subtract 6 from that. So 5 plus 2 is 7, 7 minus 6 is 1, so that just gives us 1x, which we can just write as x. Lastly down here, this time we have some different terms. We have 6x, but then we also have 2y, minus x, and plus 5y. We can't combine 6x and 2y because they're not like terms. They don't have the same variables. But we can take the 6x and the minus x and do 6 minus 1, because remember there's a 1 here. And then we can take the 2y and the 5y and do 2 plus 5. We're subtracting here 6 minus 1 because of this minus. Everything else is positive, so that's why it's 2y plus 5y. So, let me make some room real quick. So if we do this, 6x minus x is going to give us 5x, because we did 6 minus 1. And then 2y plus 5y is going to give us 7y, because we did 5 plus 2. And then lastly, since these are both positive and we can't combine them anymore, we have to keep a plus in between them. 5x plus 7y is your answer. So I know it's kind of weird, but sometimes you end your answer with variables in it, but that's perfectly okay. So the distributive property is something that lets us break up parentheses in certain cases. In this case, if you have a number on the outside of parentheses, this is a times, remember numbers next to parentheses mean multiplication. So this is a times the quantity b plus c. Now inside here you have to either have plus or minus. It could also be b minus c. And so the way the distributive property works is the number on the outside will get distributed inside, a times b and a times c. And you'll get this expression over here, a times b is ab, you keep the plus in the middle, and then a times c is ac. So this side becomes this side. I can show you real quick with numbers. 2 times 5 plus 4, you get 2 times 5, which is right here, plus 2 times 4, which is right here. 2 times 5 is 10, 2 times 4 is 8, 10 plus 8 is 18. So the weird thing is, why would we do this in this case? Because obviously we can do 5 plus 4 and get 9, and then do 9 times 2 and end up with our 18 faster. So there's actually not a good reason to do it if you have all the numbers, but what if, like, instead of a 5 you have an x, you had x plus 4, or instead of a 4 you had an x, 5 plus x, right? Then you can't break up these parentheses because you don't know what 5 plus x is. So the distributive property is going to allow us to take the 2, send it into the 5 and the x, or the x and the 4, whatever's in there. And that's going to allow us to break apart the parentheses and start isolating our variable when we solve equations. Another example of the distributive property here. We have a number on the outside of parentheses. They're being added on the inside. So 3 times x will give us 3x. And then we have a plus because it's all positive. 3 times 2, which is 6. So we get 3x plus 6. Notice these aren't like terms, right? You can't combine x's with numbers, so we can't combine 3x with 6. So that's going to be our final answer in this case. Similarly down here, this time be careful because we have a negative number. A negative 4 is going to be multiplied by an x. A negative 4 is going to be multiplied by a negative y. And a negative 4 is going to be multiplied by 5. Notice we're kind of keeping the signs that are in front of them. This is a negative 4. We're treating this like a negative 5. This is positive and this is positive because they just have a plus. Okay, so notice we're doing distributive property on 3 things. You can do it on 3, 2, 5, a million, whatever. As long as you have pluses and minuses in between and a number outside the parentheses. So negative 4 times x is negative 4x. Negative 4 times negative y will be a plus 4y. Remember, a negative times a negative is a positive. And negative 4 times 5, positive 5, will be a negative 20. Again, this is our answer because there are no like terms. We have x's, y's, and numbers, and none of those are alike. Okay, so the main reason we do problems like this, we talk about the distributive property, is so that you can simplify complex expressions, and when we start solving equations, you'll do the same thing. You'll want to simplify one side of the equation before you start working on it and trying to solve it. So this is more like what you might see in an equation. Notice I'm going to distribute here, and we're going to get negative 3x plus 6y, and then we already have a plus 4x on the outside. Sorry, got a little messy. Right, so we distributed, we broke up the parentheses. Now we still want to just simplify. We want to break this down as much as possible. So the only other thing I see we can do is take our x's and combine them with each other, right? These are the like terms. So we have a negative 3 and a positive 4. Negative 3 plus 4 is going to give us just 1. So remember, we don't have to write the 1, so I'm just going to call this 6y plus x. Oops. Okay, that is our answer. Now, I wrote the 6y first and the x second. It doesn't matter because of the commutative property, which says addition can be in both ways. So if you called this x plus 6y, it's still the perfectly good answer. One more example down here. Notice our distributive property is going to happen right here. Right? So let's start with what we have already, the 5x squared. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Make sure we have plenty of room. Okay, so we start with the, actually, move it up a little bit more. Start with the 5x squared. Minus 10 times x squared would be a negative 10x squared. And then minus 10 times 2xy will be a minus 20xy. Notice the variables aren't changing. We're just kind of taking the numbers through and just bringing the variables along the way. And then lastly, we have a plus 4 over here, just kind of by itself. We're not distributing to that because it's not inside the parentheses. Okay, what can we combine now? Looks like there's only one thing. These are x squareds and x squareds, so those will combine. There are no other xy's, so that's going to be by itself, and there are no other numbers, so 4 will be by itself. So when we combine the 5x squared minus 10x squared, remember we're focusing on the numbers in front. 5 minus 10 is a negative 5x squared. And then the other pieces are just coming along for the ride, because they didn't get combined with anything, because they're not like terms. This would be our answer. Alright, that's like terms and the distributive property. Let me know if you have any questions.